Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to fundamentally shatter everything you thought you knew about the dark, the history of human sleep, and what it truly means to wake up staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m. We're completely rethinking the nighttime hours, and it all starts with a simple flick of a switch.
All right, let's dive right into this. Today, when the sun goes down, you flip a switch and just flood a room with light, without a second thought. But for 99.9% of human history, that switch simply didn't exist. Literally, for over 300,000 years, every single one of your ancestors spent roughly half of their entire lives in absolute pitch-black darkness, like you couldn't even see your own hand in front of your face kind of darkness.
So this naturally leads to a really fascinating historical mystery. It's a question that honestly stumped historians for centuries. Without even candles for the vast majority of human existence, relying literally only on the black sky, the stars, and whatever fire they could manage to keep alive, how did our ancestors actually spend all those dark hours? Because, well, they couldn't just sit there frozen until dawn, right?
Act 1. The Birth of Us.
To solve this mystery, we actually have to travel back roughly 1 million years to Wonderwork Cave in South Africa. This is where the control of fire completely restructured the human day. Before fire, our ancestors were just like every other primate. When the sun went down, moving at night meant you became food. Our eyes were just terrible compared to nocturnal predators. But fire? Fire changed that equation overnight. Beyond creating this 30-foot circle of safety from terrifying predators like leopards and hyenas, fire miraculously gave humans 2 to 4 extra usable hours every single day. The day just didn't end at sunset anymore.
And over thousands of generations, those extra hours profoundly changed our species. Look at this absolutely fascinating 2014 study of the Kalahari Bushmen, who lived very similarly to early hunter-gatherers. It showed that their daytime talk was 80% practical logistics, work, hunting, gathering. But around the night fire, 81% of conversations completely transformed into stories, myths, and culture building. The campfire was basically the original theater, the original classroom, and the original church all rolled into one. It's where humans learned to imagine things that didn't even exist yet. Honestly, it's where we became us.
Act 2. The Lost Sleep. But the night wasn't just for campfire stories. Something else was happening out there in the dark. In 2001, historian Roger Eckertz completely shocked the scientific community after 16 years of research. He dug through 500 historical records. We're talking everything from Homer's Odyssey all the way to 1400s prayer books, court records, and diaries. And he found a forgotten biological habit that changes pretty much everything we know about sleep. See, before the industrial age, the entire world slept in a segmented pattern. People did not sleep in one continuous 8-hour block like we try to force ourselves to do today. Nope. They went to bed shortly after sunset for about 4 hours of what they called first sleep. Then they naturally woke up and stayed awake for the watch, which was 1 to 2 hours of quiet wakefulness. After that, they went back down for a second sleep until dawn. This wasn't insomnia, guys. This was completely 100% normal. So what exactly did people do during that wakeful period in the middle of the night? Well, practically everything. During this time in the dark, a 16th century French physician actually noted that couples conceived children better. People visited their neighbors, or they just lay in bed and interpreted their dreams. In fact, doctors explicitly advised using this deeply calm time to reflect and think because the mind was perfectly clear and the world outside was utterly still.
Act 3. The Biological Truth.
Now, here is where it gets crazy. This segmented sleep wasn't just some medieval cultural trend. It wasn't just a habit forced on them by a lack of electricity. It was an entirely buried biological program just waiting to be unlocked. Science eventually confirmed what history had been whispering all along. In 1992, psychiatrist Thomas Ware at the National Institute of Mental Health ran this incredible experiment. He removed all artificial light from his volunteers' lives for a full month, literally giving them 14 hours of darkness per night. And guess what? Without anyone prompting them, every single person's body naturally reverted to this exact ancient rhythm. 4 hours of sleep, 1 to 3 hours of quiet wakefulness, and then 4 more hours of sleep. It was as if this ancient program was buried deep inside them, just waiting for the lights to finally go out.
And during that middle-of-the-night wakeful period, Weir measured their brain chemistry and found something truly remarkable. Their brains were producing elevated levels of prolactin. Now, prolactin is the exact same hormone released during deep meditation. So it created this distinct, incredibly peaceful state of consciousness. It wasn't just some annoying gap in sleep, it was a uniquely reflective state of mind that most modern humans have completely and quite tragically lost.
Act 4. The Great Disruption.
So the absolute crucial point here is figuring out exactly how we managed to dismantle 300,000 years of evolutionary programming and lose this peaceful meditative state entirely. Well, the answer is simpler than you'd think. We conquered the dark. For most of history, the night was a terrifying place. It belonged to criminals and the supernatural. Night was when you were incredibly vulnerable. And I mean, not just a tripping over bucket in the dark. In many cities, walking around after dark without a lantern was straight up illegal. It was so strictly controlled that medieval cities legally required citizens to embrace the absolute dark. The word curfew literally comes from the French couvre-feu, meaning cover fire. A bell would ring, signaling everyone to extinguish their fires, and this wasn't just for safety, but because the night was supposed to be dark.
But we couldn't stand that vulnerability, so we fought back. Starting with Louis XIV's crime-fighting street lamps in 1600s Paris, the night slowly became navigable. Then came widespread gas lamps in the 1800s. And finally, boom! In 1879, Thomas Edison commercializes the electric light bulb. Within a single generation, the night, as humans had known it for 300,000 years, was completely gone. We flooded the darkness with light, and we called it progress.
But of course, this progress came with a massive biological tax. Today, modern humans get an average of 7 to 8 hours of artificial light after sunset. The harsh blue light from your screens literally tricks your retina into thinking it's daytime at 11 p.m. This actively suppresses your body's production of sleep-regulating melatonin, and it shatters the circadian rhythm that your body spent millions of years perfecting. We effectively eliminated an entire phase of human consciousness.
Yet, there is a glimmer of hope buried in our biology. Researchers found that if you take someone out of their modern routine and go camping without any artificial light at all for just 1 week, your body will rapidly reset its melatonin cycle by nearly 2 hours. Your body actually starts producing melatonin at sunset again. To put that into perspective, it proves that your ancient programming, that deep biological connection to the natural dark, is still right there, just sitting beneath the surface.
Which brings us to a really powerful reframing of modern insomnia. When you wake up at 2 a.m. and you're just lying there in the dark, tossing and turning, incredibly frustrated that you can't sleep, what if your body isn't actually malfunctioning? Seriously, what if it's not a disorder at all? What if it's simply your body remembering exactly what it was built to do for thousands upon thousands of years?
We traded a deeply peaceful phase of human consciousness, a time for stories and skies full of a brilliantly visible Milky Way, for the convenience of a simple light switch. And the crazy part is, most of us never even knew it was gone. It really leaves us to wonder, as we stare at our glowing screens tonight, what else of ourselves and our ancient, brilliant minds might we rediscover if we just learn to embrace the dark? Thank you so much for checking out this explainer, and I sincerely hope you look at the night a little differently from now on.